Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar, Master the Basics of Business Central Warehouse Management. My name is Mitesh, and I am the sales manager here at Navision Tech, and I'm excited to be here with Kevin, one of our amazing Business Central consultant. Kevin has helped many companies improve their warehouse management operation, and today he'll be sharing some practical tips you can start using right away. We are glad you are here, and we hope this session gives you some great insights to make your work easier and more efficient. And all right, let's get started. And before we get started, I just want to let you all know today's session is part one of our part two series. In this session, we will cover the basics of Business Central Warehouse Management. And in part two, we will dive into advanced warehouse management features to take your operation to the next level. So stay tuned for that, and we will share more details at the end of this webinar. Today's webinar, we will cover about us, advantages of using Business Central Basic Warehouse Module, solution overview, licensing capabilities, and we will also have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So please feel free to submit your questions throughout the presentation, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. And let me share a bit about who we are at Navision Tech. So we are not just another ERP provider. At Navision Tech, we specialize in helping small and medium businesses simplify their operation and grow faster with Microsoft 365 solution. And so far, we have helped over 100 businesses to implement Microsoft Business Central. And as a result, their warehouse management, inventory, financial reporting, and customer service run more smoothly and efficiently. And and what makes us different in our team, we bring not just a deep technical skill, but real business experience. This means the solution, what we deliver, it works in the real world. And even though Business Central is our focus, what really drives us is seeing your team succeed and feel confident using this powerful system every day. And at the end of the day, our goal is simple. We want to set you up for success so your company runs smoothly, grow confidently, and stay ahead of the competition. And without further delay, I will hand it over to Kevin to get us started.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Today, as Mitesh mentioned earlier, today is going to be the beginning of a two-part session where we talk about warehouse management. Today, we're going to focus on basic warehouse management and how your inventory is handled through that type of flow and the options that are available to you, as there are several different ways you can set up a basic warehouse for the inventory to flow in and out from the time it's received to how it's picked, whether it's bins it's handled in. There's multiple options in between the basic warehouse flow and the advanced flow. Tesh, if you want to go on the next slide. So in our basic warehouse, we will still have we will have lots of capabilities that are there in the advanced warehouse, but it doesn't take as much setup or management in the front end to track things like bin movements and inventory movements. Instead of the system generating those movements for you, it will still rely on manual input more than the system thinking between basic and advanced. So for like our inventory movements, you can set mins and maxes on bins in basic, and it can still recommend replenishment within itself and things like that. But what it won't do is you can't set up bin rankings where it's going to represent track you through the warehouse via the highest ranking, or it's not going to recommend that you handle this first, maybe because of the way it came in or the bin it's in. You don't have zones or bin types and such. So today we're just going to go over the very basic settings and the options that are available to you for different ways you can set up a warehouse and which type of documents are specific to your needs and the variables that you have available. You want to move on to the next slide, Mitesh?
Yeah, so in this slide, we are going to show you what Business Central Basic Warehouse Management can offer. So I will hand it over to Kevin and share his screen. So we are excited to see a Business Central Warehouse Management module.
Yeah. 1 second here, and I will share my screen with you all. Can everyone see my screen? Or Mitesh, if you can confirm that you can see my screen.
Let me check. Yes, I can see. Yep.
Okay. So starting with warehouse setup, we start from the location card. And within locations, you can have multiple locations within one company, and each location can be set up completely different from very basic to very advanced. So you can see here in our list that we have multiple locations and there are different settings in each location. So we have a basic warehouse location that is just set up right now for bid mandatory, which means any transaction bid mandatory specifies the location has to be required. So you can't receive something or ship something without saying, hey, where did I take this out of in the warehouse? I have to give it a bin code on the either the purchase order, sales order, whatever the document is. We can go a little bit further to another level. This is still considered basic, but in this location, Kevin's test warehouse, we are not only doing bin mandatory, but we are requiring a receive, we're requiring a shipment, a put away, a pick. So it's still not directed by the computer, but it's requiring all these different levels. So it's going to require that we receive the goods in and then we process a put away to put them away in our warehouse. So in this location, you have to define bins that are used for your receiving and your shipping so that it knows which bin when you ship items out to deduct that inventory from. We have a north location. Our north location is set up for bin mandatory and just requires put away and pick, meaning anytime an item comes in, we have to put it away in the warehouse somewhere. And then anytime an item goes out, we have to say where we took that item from. So it requires a pick, a separate process than just directly on the sales document itself. We don't have to define any of those values down here because we're not requiring the receive or shipment level. So we can leave all of our bins blank. We're just requiring not that two-step, just one step of, hey, this is where I put it away in the warehouse. This is where I took it from in the warehouse. You could even have a warehouse that's as simple as it has no bins, but that wouldn't even be considered warehouse management, right? You can just have to MBC where there are no options. So we'll start with a purchase order, or well, let me, hold on. In locations, we'll look at this north location first. When we turn on bin mandatory, we have to make sure then that we have bins in this location for you to put your inventory away. So each location card has its own section where you can define its zones and bins. Zones are primarily used in advanced warehousing. You could use them in basic warehousing, but you get no value for setting them up, as the value comes in advanced warehousing where it would use the directed pick and pick away to drive things via the zone they're in. So in this location, we just have a handful of bins that are created. The bin can be any code value that you want it to be. You can manually type it in. It can be a number sequence. It can be a word. It could be a value of words and numbers. So if you have aisles like A01, it could be A01. You can put in descriptions if you need, but in real basic, a code is just enough to represent that item or that bin in your warehouse. The rest of these fields are more used in the advanced warehousing to determine what type of bin type it is, and we'll go into that in the other sessions. So with that being said, so I've set up bins in each one of these warehouses in advance. When you're setting up your own warehouse, let's say you need to create hundreds of bins, right, to represent your warehouse. BC does offer us a tool called a bin creation worksheet. So this is where you can define, oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong one. Bin creation worksheet, not content, but bin creation worksheet. You can come in and you can create bins in bulk, and you define a bin, and then and you calculate the bins, and let's see, calculate bins. And so you pick a template code, and I don't have a template code in here, but you can put in your template code and say from rack A to rack, let's say F, and then you have different sections within that rack, 1 to 10, and it'll generate all those bins at once so that you don't have to sit there and spend the time manually creating them. You just have to create the template of how you want that. Like all your bins are four numbers, right? Like 01, 01, 01, 01. They recommend the aisle, the shelf in between the racking, then the racking, then the shelf, and then the spot on that shelf, right? And you create those templates out, and then you can mass produce those bins, and you can pick which location by which batch up here. So you can have different batches for different locations codes to generate those bins in bulk very quickly. Okay. From there, let's process a purchase order. So create a new purchase order. And we'll use our Paris guest chair. And right now it's defaulting to this default bit location just based off some of the settings in the background, but I can change this to wherever I want it. So I'm going to pick the silver warehouse. In the silver warehouse, I've received this item in before, so it defaulted to a specific bin code, which is predetermined on the location card. So I'm going to switch tabs here and go back to location and silver. And in the silver bin, I have the default bin selection set to last used, meaning whatever bin was the last bin I used, that's going to be the bin that it recommends for this item if there is one. There are a couple options there between fixed bin or last used. This location is set up for last used bin. So we'll go back to our purchase order and enter our quantity. And in this location, since all we require is bin mandatory, we have a bin code column right here on the purchase header where we can define the bin. It filled in this value, or we could click the 3 dots and we get a drop down of all the bins, and we could choose a different bin if we want. Let's say we want to put it in this bin. We can choose that bin. It updates on the lines, and then we'll release our order, and we will post, and we're just going to receive right now. And you can still do a 2-step process where this gets received and the invoicing is done at a later point in time. So right now we've just received this inventory in. We've said it's in bin S103, and somebody else can process the invoice later, or if we wanted to, we could process it all the way through at this point in time. A really good feature about basic warehouse management like this without directed put and pick on is that ability to unreceive items. You lose that ability when you go to advanced warehousing. You can't necessarily unreceive, but we have the ability in this to go to receipts and open this receipt, and we can functions undo receipt, and we could unreceive these items in this location. So if I process undo receipt, do you really want, click yes. And now, as long as the line hasn't been invoiced, I can unreceive these goods, which removes them out of my inventory. If I go back to my purchase order, you can see now that it looks like nothing happened. I have a quantity to receive again, and let's say now when I want to receive it, I only actually received 9, not 10, right? And so I'm going to home post and receive because I received 9 instead of 10. And so it leaves a quantity remaining to be received of 1, shows that we've received 9 in, and we still have 10, still shows 10 fully to invoice, but we have that separation here, just like, and you'll have this at all levels of warehouse management, but at the basic level, you have the ability still to unreceive directly from the purchase order. So let's create a new purchase order here. And this time we'll choose a location that has a few more requirements set up. And we'll put in a vendor invoice number just so we can push this through. And we'll receive the Paris chair in again, and we're going to change this to location Kevin, which is set up as bin mandatory, but requires the receive and put away. So here we'll enter a couple of different lines. And change our location. And you can see it filled in the value of bin code receive, but we would not have, so if we release this and we tried the post directly from here and we did receive, there's nothing to post because the document does not contain a quantity or amount, because based off our requiring receive, we have no quantity to receive filled in or quantity to invoice. Turning on require receive requires that we create a warehouse receipt and that the goods are received on this warehouse receipt. So it gives you a next level of breakdown that we want to require, that we want to have separation of the warehouse can function specifically on a warehouse receipt and not on the purchase document itself. It can prevent warehouse employees from seeing price and such. They can just be in the warehouse receipt and do their receiving there. So on the warehouse receipt, I have the ability to fully receive in, or I can change the quantity. And it already fills in my receiving bin based on the settings on the location. So if we go to the location Kevin, we can see that we define down here that the receipt bin is REC. So it automatically filled that in on our warehouse receipt, that that's where we're going to receive it, and that we have required receive turned on. So we've updated this. So if I post this receipt right now, we're going to short receive the second line. I have the ability, I received the full line, the second line's still there. This is outstanding. When I go back to my order, I'll see that quantity received here is 5, quantity received here is 5 as well, but I know this line is still outstanding. There's amount left on the warehouse receipt related with warehouse receipt lines, and I can see that there is a quantity outstanding of 5 still to be received for this purchase order. In this location, since we have put away turned on, once we receive, we have on the location setting that it's automatically going to create put away right here, always create put away line. So if we search for warehouse putaways, we'll see a put away was created for the location code Kevin. And in here is where we can actually say where it's going to go in the warehouse. So we've received it in, it's sitting in our warehouse on a dock, and now we want to process putting it away in our warehouse. We can assign this to a user. This can be, if you have handhelds, this can be assigned to a handheld device. So a user can take it out, scan, put these in, or it can be registered from a computer like what you see here. So if I want to, I can change the bin. This is the recommendation. It's recommending that I put this in the A bin based off just availability. This is an empty bin, has nothing in it, so it found the first empty bin. I'm going to put this in bin D. I could put, if I want to change For example, I don't want to put all of these. Say this pedestal is too big for 5 of them to fit in one bin. I can change this quantity to handle the 3, and I can do a functions split line. And now I have the ability to say I want to put these 2 away into bin G, because bin A wasn't going to be able to hold all 3 of them. I have the ability to split that right from the document. And on the handheld, you have the ability just to scan a different bin, and it does the same thing, just look and feel is different. But somebody can do this in advance as well. Like if you want to pre-prep a put away for, let's say you get in a really big put away that's whole 20 pallets on a truck and you want to put them away in your warehouse. This is a great way for somebody can manage that, and they can say, oh, yep, split this line by the quantity that comes per pallet. So then it shows up as individual lines for whoever's doing the put away, and they don't have to enter that. They know that, hey, this pallet has this many cases on it. I put it away here, or this many pieces, however it comes into your warehouse. You can also, if you have a different unit of measure, let's say you buy something in eaches, but you want to put it away in cases, we have the ability to change the unit of measure. So if you were to receive in something in a case and it says 144 eaches on here, but you want to put it away as 12 cases, you can do a change unit of measure and change the unit of measure for how you want to store it in your warehouse. And it can go from case to each as well if you don't like to store things in eaches. Maybe you buy it by the case, but you store it by the each because that's how you sell it. You can also break it down and put it away that way in your warehouse. So we'll register put away. And as simple as that is now updated that. So if we go switch tabs and we'll go to items and we'll search for our Paris chair. We can see in our quantity on hand, it says we have 72 on hand, but this doesn't show us where. If we go to related, warehouse, and bin contents, we can see the breakdown for any location that said has been mandatory that you have inventory in. It's going to share that here in this so you can see it. So, and then it's going to tell me how many of them I have in that location. So like this white location has 50. Silver, I have 3 separate bins that all have a value in them. And then Kevin location has 2 bins that have a value in them. And then this basic location is showing up because I say I have a fixed bin in that location where this item should always go. So that shows up even though I don't have any inventory in that bin. It shows up as like a recommended spot for where that item would be. Really useful for, say, when you're doing cycle counting and maybe you actually have some product left, but the system says you don't. It's going to bring that fixed bin up in your cycle count as a location that should be checked to make sure that you don't have inventory in there, since that's where it regularly sits. Same way you can do the same with a default bin. You can only have one default bin. An item can have multiple fixed bins, but only one default bin per location. So you can see here, like the silver, this is the default bin, meaning it's the bin that this is most transacted in, but it has 2 fixed bins, meaning either one of these bins are primarily used for holding this item. Okay. So let's go back. And so now we've processed our put away. And so in both locations, we have put the inventory into the bin in the warehouse where we wanted it to be. The difference in the process, one step right from the sales order directly to the other one was a multi-step process where we received it in and then we processed to put away. And you could have other levels of that. You could have where you just need the put away, so you receive it in, but you've still got to process a put away for where it goes in the bin if you don't want to have the warehouse receipt. You could have where you just have the warehouse receipt as well and you have no put away. There's different levels of setups that are available to you at that point. Let's take a look now on the outbound side, on the sales order side. We'll change our location to silver, quantity 1. And we can see over here that it's already filled in the bin code based off that most recent use that we had. And so it's saying this is the bin that we're going to take this item from. It's filled in the quantity to ship. If we wanted to change that, we can hit the drop down here and it'll give us a list of the bins that contain this item. So any one of these 3 bins, we could choose to say we're going to take this item from. And it's pre-filtered, as you can see the little filters here, to the location we selected on the line and then the item number that's entered on the line. And if we change it, it updates that quick. And we're good to go. So now we've physically picked this item, we've updated our order, and we post, and we can ship or ship an invoice. We can do it all at once or separately. If it needs to be a 2-part process, we'll process this all at once. And this is real basic. It's just helping us know specifically which location in the warehouse we deducted our inventory from. We can see the posted sales invoice, shows everything went through, and our inventory has been relieved from the warehouse. Now, if we look at the location Kevin, we'll do the same sales order. So we can see first off here that the bin code did not fill in, and the quantity to ship and the quantity to invoice also did not fill in for this location because we have on required ship and require pick. So at this location, we'll release this order, and then just like we had to do on the purchase order, create a warehouse receipt. Here we have to create a warehouse shipment. So our warehouse shipment is created, and then our warehouse shipment automatically fills in with the bin code ship because that's where our inventory, once we pick it, we're going to set it in our shipping bin until we're ready to process it outside the warehouse. And that's defined on the location card. Like we discussed previously, we have the shipment bin set to ship. So that's where it pulled that value automatically from the settings that we have here. For picking, we have some pick policies that we can define. In this location, we have that the bin policy is it's going to use the default bin first. We don't have on always create pick line. So always create pick line would mean that you want it to create a pick even if there's not a bin with that item in it. It's going to create a line just without a bin code. That can be useful if you want it on, but in our case, I didn't want it on this location because I want it to only suggest that I can pick this item if there's some sitting in a bin somewhere. So it won't create a pick if there's no bin to associate to that inventory. And then we're picking via first expired, first out if we have anything that's has expiration dates. And we can also pick according to FIFO if you want to as well, first in, first out, but that's not turned on in this location. So once our pick is created, we have a couple of different ways we can generate picks within Business Central. You can create picks directly from the warehouse shipment, one at a time. So I can click create pick, and I could pick who the user is that it's going to say this gets assigned to. I can pick how it sends my user throughout the warehouse. So if it's going to sort, if there are multiple items, it could go alphabetically by item or by shelf or bin, or if for some reason one of the lines has an earlier due date than the others, it's going to say to pick that item first, or because I could have a warehouse shipment maybe that is across a couple of orders or that type. The most common usually is by bin ranking or shelf and bin, depending on how you set up your warehouse. Bin ranking, you rank all the bins and then it knows, you know, the bin with the highest ranking is first, and then it works its way down that way. So we can set a break bulk filter on picks as well. This is all available both advanced or basic here. So the break bulk filter allows you, like if you need to pick eaches, but you store it as cases, this allows the system to break that down from case to each rather than saying you don't have it. It'll say take a box of 12, one case and place it in the same bin as 12 eaches, and then take one each because that's what you need for your order if it can't find any eaches in any bin in the warehouse. You can prioritize items with item tracking if you use item tracking. And if you have directed pick and put away on, you can show a summary now, but we don't have that on in this location. So we'll click OK. We could print a pick document too if we want to have a physical piece of paper that shows where we're going to go pick this. So you can see here it says I could print this off and give it to someone, and it says the item that we're going to pick and where it's going to go. I'm here, or sorry, hold on. That's the warehouse shipment. 1 second. I can have this report print off, and it tells me that I need to go to bin A, take 5 pieces, and then place those 5 pieces in the shipment bin to be fulfilled. These reports can be customized. Really common one is to add barcodes when people have handheld scanners so that you can scan the pick and pull it up on your device. But you have the ability to have a piece of paper go with the order throughout your warehouse if you don't have handheld devices, or if you still need the piece of paper and have a handheld device, you can match them up to stay with the order. So we register our pick. We can register the full amount, or we can register a partial. So here we registered a partial, and if we go back, we would see on our warehouse shipment that it's now has a document status of partially picked. We have the ability on our pick lines as well. If we don't like the value that it recommends and we have it in another bin, we can switch and we could take it from a different bin. So we could take it from this D bin. And now I've completely picked. It's going to track that I had 2 separate registrations. It's got different registration numbers, but it tells me exactly, and I can see where exactly and have history track of where my items were taken from, which bins, and all of this is tracked on the item card as well through warehouse entries. Even without having the advanced module, this is just the basic module. All of that would be tracked for historical purposes. So if we go back to our sales order, we can still see our quantity to ship and our quantity invoiced has not filled in. And we cannot post directly from the sales order. So there's nothing to post because when you have require shipment on, you have to post the warehouse shipment first. You cannot, in this environment with both require receive and require shipment, that forces us to have to use these warehouse documents and that they are both posted before you can post directly from the order. So when we post from here, so we'll post shipment and we'll just ship. Okay, our warehouse shipment goes away, becomes a posted warehouse shipment, and then now we can see on our sales order that we have a quantity shipped to 5 and we have a quantity 5 remaining to be invoiced to this customer. And that can be, you could invoice it directly from the warehouse shipment as well. There's an option to ship and invoice, and that would process through the sales order, or you can just do a ship and then you have options to either manually ship the sales order or maybe batch post and invoice the sales orders as well. So those are the 2 like kind of high level where we would start and finish with just 2 basic settings of a basic warehouse where we're not using the advanced put and pick, but they show you the options that are available to you from very simple where you just have to enter the bin right on the sales document to where you can still require the receive and the put away and the pick and the shipment, but without going to where it's directed fully by the system. And you can do any level in between as well based off your needs. One big important thing to keep in mind if you're setting up BC for the first time in a location and you're planning on that someday that location would become directed pick and put away, is that if you've never done any transactions in the location, you can turn this on. But if you've ever done transactions and you didn't have bin mandatory turned on, you can't turn directed put and pick away on, put and pick on after the fact. It has to be, so bin mandatory is the most important setting when first setting up a location that's going to be a warehouse and what your long-term vision of that location is. Because if you don't turn on bin mandatory and you just start doing transactions day one in your BC environment, eventually, if you ever wanted to get to that level, you would have to create a new location code and move your inventory from your existing location over to that location as it's a required setting. So this was our silver location where we saw that it was very basic. We have very basic bins in this location. It doesn't require a whole lot, and you're just defining the bins right on the sales order. And the settings here are really minimal. We didn't have warehouse handling because these are all optional, right? Like if I want to set that it takes a day for my warehouse to calculate to get something shipped out, or maybe it takes 3 days for stuff once it's received before it gets put away, you have inbound warehouse handling time. Those are all options that you can fill out for how you want it to flow. Same way here on this. And then there's a warehouse setup page. This is where you define your number series that you use for the warehouse. So if you're going like what number series, what value do you want it to associate with, kind of like sales orders, what value do you want it to associate with your putaways when you register them? So it just assigns the number series. That all has to be set up beforehand through your number series so that you don't get any errors when creating shipments or receipts or posting picks. You have to have your number series defined here in warehouse setup so that can all process through correctly. But that's our overview today on the basic side. On the next level, we would go through a location like this WMS location we have, where everything's fully directed, put and pick, and we'll show the difference between what the system recommends, how it calculates what bin to use, where you put it, and it has a lot more requirements to help keep your inventory managed tighter at that level. Does anybody have any questions on today's session or anything they would like to talk about?
Let me share my screen back where we are, and we'll go for the Q&A session. Kevin, thanks for the wonderful demonstration. And I just wanted to touch base on the Business Central. So Business Central, it is not just warehouse management software. It is a complete all-in-one business management software. And think it of this way, that it brings everything your business needs into one single platform, whether it's your financial, sales, or customer, or supply chain management. It's all in one place. That means you can easily access and analyze and manage your business data anytime you want without jumping between different systems. So when you have the single source of truth, it helps you do so much more, and you can streamline your processes, avoid duplicate data entry, and reduce busy work, and get faster and more accurate reports with built-in business intelligence, and see the real time um, across all your department. And here is something really cool, that Business Central is the first solution with Microsoft Copilot built in, and Copilot uses like next generation AI to boost your productivity and improve your business performance. AI is such a hot topic right now, and Business Central is bringing that powerful mechanism straight into your day-to-day work. And no wonder over 45,000 small and medium-sized businesses trust Business Central. So, and I'm sure like there are plenty of software options out there, but the way Microsoft integrates everything into one ecosystem, it's just phenomenal. It makes everything running smooth, simpler, and smarter.
Mitesh, it
And
looks like somebody raised their hand. I don't know if you want
uh,
to.
okay, let me. Can you read their question in chat box or not yet?
Maybe not yet. Sorry.
Let me see if I can unmute their mic. Hello, Emon. Can you hear us? Or you can type your question in Q&A and we will try to answer in a couple of minutes, if that possible. This is by and large Business Central capabilities that you can see, which it comes with it. And it has like a lot more than the warehouse management. So you can have a inventory tracking, service management, warehouse management, your complete supply chain, sales and delivery, purchase, project management, and manufacturing. And this part of this section in the corner right here in the bottom, that's the manufacturing. So that comes in the Microsoft Premium licensing. So in next slide, I'm going to discuss that. All right, so in this slide, let's quickly talk about licensing option that what you need to know. And first off, Business Central keeps licensing pretty simple. And the best part, you can actually start with a free trial to see if it's the right fit for your business before making any commitments. So if you are interested in trying out, just shoot me an email and we will get you set up for a free trial. And now here is a quick breakdown of the pricing. Essential user, it's $70 per user per month. That's where you get the all basic and supply chain and the service management functionality. And premium licensing comes with $70, sorry, $100 per user per month, where you get the manufacturing functionality plus which you get in the essential. And it is pretty straightforward, right? And before we jump to the next slide, I just want to share something important. We have seen so many businesses spend thousands of dollars on software that ends up not really working for them. And it's usually because no one took time to understand what they actually needed. And that's frustrating. And honestly, it shouldn't be that way. And that's why we offer a free needs assessment, and this is not just a sneaky sales pitch. It is just a chance for us to listen and learn about your business challenges and see if Business Central truly right fit for your business. Because at the end of the day, the worst thing you can do is invest in a system that doesn't solve your real problems, and we don't want see that happen. And here we have a Q&A session. And let's go back to the Q&A page and if we can able to.
So Mitesh, Amon posted a question about the receiving process.
Okay.
Amon, I would say that first it depends on your internal business process and how you would like to see see it handled. The options are that you can short receive. Let's say you order 10, right? And the vendor only ships 9, and they're never going to send you that additional one. You could just receive the 9 and that purchase order would hang out. But after you ship and invoice it, you could delete it so that it shows that you originally ordered 10 just for historical tracking. And then you show that discrepancy, right? That I ordered 10, but they only shipped 9. You can change the quantity on the purchase order to match at the time, like especially if you do a separation of receiving and invoicing. Let's say you receive in the warehouse, they receive the 9, but then when you get the actual invoice from the vendor, they say they only shipped you 9 and they're never going to fulfill the 10. Maybe your accounting team would then just reopen the purchase order and adjust it down to 9 to show that so that it matches that value, and you just post it through at 9 and not at 10. So the big is, what does your system, what do you want to see, I would say, is the first question that we'd want to know, but the system has can be adjusted to the process flow of what your business does when it comes to receiving.
Does that answer your question? Or we can probably, schedule a one-to-one call and listen your requirement and kind of go from there.
If anyone has any other questions, we have a few more minutes. We
All
would
right.
also take feedback if anyone has anything they would like to see during our next call or another webinar. Like if you have any specific areas that you would like to see us showcase or demonstrate to you, we would be gladly happy to create that webinar and put that on to show you that area of the system. If there's a specific area you want to see, like around replenishment or pick to path or anything like that, please let us know. It's hard to fit all of the functionality BC offers into a 45-minute webinar.
Yeah, Kevin, there was another question, I think, which is coming on. So there was a second question that it's related to the Microsoft code. If you can answer, Kevin.
Well, the first question. So yes, Iman, the base BC is that when a purchase order gets posted, if it gets fully received and invoiced, it does automatically get deleted and archived, but it's saved as a posted purchase receipt and a posted purchase invoice. So even though the order falls off, you still have all the data. You don't lose any of that, and you have the archive data where you can technically restore a purchase order from or a sales order from, but you don't lose that data. Now, if you update the quantities on those, but in that you don't lose any data there because it gets archived, even though the sales order is deleted. That's the base functionality of the system, both sales, transfers, purchasing, is that if a document is fully, the order falls away, I guess, fails to exist once that order is fully shipped and invoiced. Let me read your second question. So for vendors or students, BC has, like, what are you imagining a vendor would need a license to BC for? There's lots of operations for where you can limit or use maybe a cheaper license. A really good example is for the warehouse. If you have devices, you only have to, like, let's say you have 10 devices and you run 2 shifts. So technically, you only have to pay for 10 device licenses. And then all of your users who use those handheld devices, you can have as many users as you want. You just only can use 10 devices at any given time based off those licenses, and they're much cheaper license than a essentials license. There's team member licenses available, but I guess I don't know. Like, are you envision when you say for vendors or students, what do you mean to like what would they be doing in your system really determines the level of licensing they would need. Like, um,
So if you have a, let's say, a third-party integration like e-commerce, such as like Magento, Shopify, or Sana Commerce, like there are so many out there. And with that integration, like let's say if your vendor is using Business Central, then as such there is no license requirement for that part because it is completely a separate platform. But if you are trying to track like how many users you have and who are using Business Central and the other functionality, then that can be tracked from your Microsoft 365 admin portal. That's where you can like um, decide like who will use which functionality from your Business Central. And we can definitely, like if you can leave your contact information, we can definitely reach out after our webinar and kind of schedule a one-to-one call and listen your needs, what you are exactly looking for, and go from there. All right, so I'm going with the next slide, see if you have anything. Okay, so like we post our new content regularly, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And before we wrap up, I have a quick reminder. Be sure to subscribe to our next webinar. And this is part one of our series. And coming up next is our advanced warehouse management webinar, where we will go deeper into advanced tools and best practices to optimize your warehouse even further. So don't miss it. We would love to have you join us again, and you can scan the QR code that you can see on your screen, and it will take you right to the registration page. And thanks for joining us today. And if you have any further question or would you like to discuss your specific requirements in more detail, please do not hesitate to contact us and have a great day. Thank you.
thank you.